Ed here with the Digital Digest, and today I wanted to share a video about the Sony A6400. This is, of course, the latest addition to Sony's APS-C type mirrorless interchangeable lens cameras, priced at $899 body alone. It aims to fill the gap between the A6300 on the left and the A6500 on the right. However, I have to say, for the first time, and anyone who's followed my channel through the course of my coverage of Sony's DI offerings, the A6400 is easily the most underwhelming camera, at least in the interchangeable space, that I've ever seen Sony launch. And that's why physically I've left so little room in between the A6300 and A6500, is because I personally don't feel that there was enough space in order to introduce a model in between these two. Now, these are both already very popular and, dare I say, affordable cameras at this point in time. They're both, relatively, I won't call them old, but they've been on the market for a while. They're both reasonably priced for their offering, and they both, I think, differentiate from one another quite well, and it's reflected in their pricing. At $900 the A6400 tries to squeeze in between these two by essentially improving upon what the A6300 has to offer in many different ways, but not enough in order for me to point consumers, or friends, or anyone else for that matter, towards the A6400 over something like the A6500. Granted, it is still more expensive, but it's so close in pricing that it just doesn't warrant the recommendation. So what does the A6400 bring to the table that's unique? Well, it improves the buffer that we have with the A6300, but still doesn't get to the same size buffer as the A6500. It does not have the in-body image stabilization that the A6500 has, but it does have superior autofocus capability to that of the A6500. Of course, it abandons Sony's Play Memory application suite. It does still have remote control via, the Sony application, so that you can use it as a wireless shutter release, your phone, in order to frame and take images. But that's pretty much where that part of the world ends. Other things that, maybe the most noteworthy thing that it does, is it does give you what both of these cameras do not have in the way of a screen. The LCD screen is now able to flip all the way up. So in other words, if you want to vlog with an interchangeable lens camera, Sony has given you essentially an A6300 with autofocus that is better than the A6500, but no image stabilization, as I noted before, in body. Of course, you'll have to have that in lens. That can allow you to see yourself on its internal screen. Now, while that's a welcomed addition, I in no way feel that what I just mentioned, the improved buffer size, the screen being able to flip around, as well as the improved autofocus system, warrants a new body. I just feel like Sony was trying to fill a gap on their own internal spreadsheets in terms of their profitability, rather than really addressing consumer and customer needs. And that has been Sony's recipe for success. I'm the first to say it. And those of you over the years who thought that I was a Sony fanboy, or whatever you want to call it, no, I'm a fan of the best in class of any product. And Sony's done that time and time again in the DI business over the last 7 years. The problem is that the A6400, on the other hand, while it does offer a lot of things that, the A6300 does not have, it doesn't offer a lot of things that the A6500 has. I mean, granted, it is the A6400, but what I've mentioned, yes, there are some other things it brings to the table. When you're recording 4K video now, the screen will not dim, but we don't have a new battery type. Power management is supposed to be improved. I doubt it's going to be any kind of true tangible difference between these two models. So essentially, what we have is something that looks exactly like both of these cameras, and does have some benefits that do not exist in either of these cameras. The only truly notable one with the A6500, of course, is the improved autofocus and the ability for the screen to flip around, because I don't even think that the dimming of the display during video capture is in any way, shape, or form a game-changing capability. I think that it's nice that Sony has addressed that issue, but I don't think that it warrants a new purchase, especially if you already own either of these. Now, as you may have noticed, my lens selection on these two cameras, that's another thing I want to address in this video. So I've got the 10 to 18 millimeter f4 APS-C E-mount Sony lens here, which is a staple in at least my gear bag because it's so portable, so compact, and the results are pretty much best in class. And yes, it is a very expensive lens. In fact, most people out there who have spent time with the camera, and granted I have not, but that's because it's really of little interest to me, they've all been talking about, well, if you're going to buy this for vlogging, the A6400, you need to pick up this lens. And this lens retails for around $800 US, and it's been on the market for a long time. I mean, I think I purchased it originally in 2013. It then got destroyed. I think it was 2013, may have been 2012. And then I repurchased it. That's how good a lens it is. For those of you wondering how it got destroyed, Hurricane Matthew answers that question. But, you know, to think that I have this lens and yet the A6400 still has no real appeal for me personally, because even with that said, having this expensive piece of glass, now I have a screen that would flip all the way around. Of course, the A6500 and A6400 just can't do that. This is where it ends, right here. I cannot recommend it for a moment for that reason. And yes, touchscreen capability is there. That's always welcomed, but Sony's UI is still not optimized for touchscreen. So even though it's nice to have it, I would like it to be far more practical and functional rather than just be on a spec sheet to check a box. So while the A6400 isn't a bad camera from what I can tell collectively, I mean, what I've seen out of it has been solid. The fact of the matter is that we may as well just push these two together and totally eliminate that gap, because there truly is, in my opinion, no room at all to introduce a model that is going to appeal to a consumer that isn't already attracted to either of these. And then when we bring pricing into the mix, the fact that the A6400, again, is starting where the A6300 started, Sony has continued to insist that this is not a replacement to the A6300, but I would make the argument it absolutely is. They want to make that argument. I understand that. Sony has done a fantastic job of maintaining their lineup of pre-existing cameras and just lowering price over time so that there's a price point for everyone. And I get that. I think it's a very smart approach. From a business perspective, I think it is part of the recipe to their success beyond innovation. However, with that said, these are two of the best cameras in class. I mean, they really can outperform just about anything else you put them side by side with an APS-C sensor. The A6400, again, improves on the A6300, but not enough that I would say, don't save the money on the A6300, get the A6300, save some money, invest that money in glass, or spend a little more, get the in-body stabilization here. Yes, you are forfeiting some of that brand new autofocus prowess, but guess what? Sony, in my opinion, is definitely going to be releasing, even though they will not call it a successor to the A6500, I assure you we're going to get a higher end model, whether it's the A6700, A7000. It would be fitting to see an A7000 by now, considering it all really began with the NEX7. Let's come full circle from 2012. It's about time. If that does launch, you better believe that the A7000 or 6700 or whatever its actual formal name will be, will have all of the capability, meaning in-body image stabilization, The buffer capacity will probably be increased from what the A6500 presently has. They may even change the battery. I doubt that, but it's possible. And then, of course, it's going to have the new autofocus system that you have in the A6400, but inherently, it may actually be even better. It may be improved. It may have more than 425 points of phase detection on board. And the overall system that is in place on the A6400, you better believe, is going to be at least equivalent, but I would say absolutely better in that higher end model. So with that said, the whole premise of this video is, as I stated at the top, I wish I was more excited about the A6400. And like I said, anyone who has followed my channel, this is the first interchangeable body from Sony that I'm saying right now just does not speak to me in any capacity. That doesn't mean it isn't a very good camera. If you don't own either of these and it fits your budget and you're starting fresh, or if you already have some existing glass, it may very well be a great option for you. But I can't see looking past either of these or waiting for a successor to the A6500 if you're already at the table with $900 for a compact mirrorless body like either of these. So again, to recap, the A6400 is supposed to lie in between these two, but when it comes to pricing, it does, because this has gone down in price and so has this. This was always above $1,000. This was always at $899. And of course, those prices have both gone down. But this camera is way too close to where the A6400 is coming in. And the A6400, truly, the innovation that it does bring is that LCD screen articulating to a vlog mode, a selfie mode, flipping around. And it does still get clipped by the EVF, just so you know. And as I mentioned, a brighter display when shooting video, better autofocus with more points of detection, and we still don't have features that we have in this camera. So at least right now, without having the camera in my hand, I can't recommend it to anyone. Trust me, I don't enjoy saying that, because this is literally the first time that I've pointed at a Sony interchangeable lens body and said, take a pass. And you can go back through all of my videos, all of my coverage of Sony digital imaging equipment. I cannot remember a time where I've said this camera maybe doesn't even warrant a look. But the A6400 kind of feels that way, because I even saw a leak, I remember, from Sony Alpha Rumors, where I don't know if it was real or fake. Someone received their A6400 and it actually had the A6300 name on it. Now, I'm not going to tell you that Sony literally took A6300s and just, rebranded them A6400, improved the buffer, tweaked the software so the screen stays brighter, and, essentially changed the hinge style of the LCD. But I wouldn't think that that's impossible to do if you have a tremendous amount of inventory. And I do think that the A6500 kind of smashed the A6300 in the face. Granted, they still both, respectively appeal to different price points. But when the A6500 came out, it was like, wait a minute. So you would only get the A6300 if you don't care about the in-body stabilization, as well as, of course, the improved buffer size. I mean, the A6500 was clearly the better camera. So now we have this A6400, which is in a gray space, in my opinion. And if Sony was sitting on a ton of A6300s, it would make a lot of sense to, make some improvements, but still let what is out there in the marketplace continue to sell. Now, again, no conspiracy theories from me. I do believe it's a new model completely that they built from the ground up. The problem is it simply shares too much in common with these two cameras, which already are very formidable competition. And I really don't understand something that potentially aims to cannibalize Sony's own DI space. And for the first time, the A6400 seems to do that with its very short list of improvements from the two models we're looking at here. At any rate, that is my at least initial impression as well as or thoughts on the A6400. I hope you all enjoyed this video. Hit that like button, post any questions, of course, and feel free to subscribe. Later.